Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spurs Talk Show. I was so tempted to do Shawnee's 3 welcomes there, but I think I'll leave that to the man himself. You've heard of Tottenham Walks with Sean Butler. Well, welcome to the inaugural episode of Tottenham Drives with Adam William Cahill. I could not be more delighted to be starting this at this point in time when we have had such an amazing game last night in terms of talking points, not in terms of performance, it has to be said. But yeah, Battle of the Bridge Part 2, that was absolutely intense. It was rough to start with. We know that performance was painful, absolutely painful, and we'll get into that. But I think I generally, when I'm talking about anything, I like to start with the positives, and there are definitely positives to take away from yesterday's game. Firstly, let's get into the goals, because Chelsea they're really pushing their luck when they're trying to talk about us stealing the game with respect to the goals not being allowed. Now, let's take them one by one. The very first goal, they've got two arguments against the two arguments for the first goal being disallowed, which I think are both utter nonsense. So the first argument being that Bentancur should have been done for a foul in the build-up to that first goal. But there's two problems with that. A, it was so many stages prior to the goal that you can't really bring the play back that far. You really can't. You cannot bring the play back that far to disqualify us for the goal. At the end of the day, if they've let it go, they've let it go. But the second part of that is they were perfectly justified, whether it was the linesman or the referee, perfectly justified in letting it go, because Bentancur got the ball. And anyone who wants to argue against that needs to look back over the footage. It was very, very clear Bentancur got the ball, incredibly well timed, and there's no reason for us not to be given that goal. So they can do one, as my father likes to say, they can do one. There's absolutely no justification in them saying that we didn't deserve that first goal. There really isn't. They're clutching at straws. Now, second goal. Okay, it must be said, absolutely, that by the letter of the law, Romero should have got done for what he did. Like, there's no argument against that. There really is no argument against it. Romero should have got done for pulling Cucurella by the hair. However, we're talking positives here, right? Okay, fair enough. We definitely should have got the red card, at which point it would have meant that we wouldn't have got the corner kick that led to the goal. However, as much as that is true, and we definitely stole the game in that sense, the positive to take away from it is that even though we were very lucky to come away with a draw, the goal itself was unquestionably brilliant. What a tremendous cross from Perisic. That was such a great corner. That was a tremendous corner, and we should be absolutely delighted that, had there been no stigma around the build-up to the corner, that we would have... You can't argue that in spite of a really, really poor performance for most of the game, we clawed a draw, we clawed a point away from that game. It shows the level that we're at now versus where we were at before. I'm going to get into the negatives and the fact that it still shows that we're not quite at the level that I was hoping that we would be at. But the fact that we were able to get that Højbjerg goal basically against the run of play, we were trying to turn it around. Then to go another goal down, and then to claw it back in the 96th minute with an incredible header from Harry Kane. It just shows that there is, irrespective of what you want to say about the performance overall, you have to be proud of the fact that we're the kind of team to now be able to claw those points back under those circumstances, because that is anti-Spursy, right? I mean, if anything, we've done the exact opposite of what you would normally expect from Spurs in the past. We've gone out and stolen a draw from a defeat, which is not something that you could say is in our DNA, you know. So those are positives to take, as well as the fact that obviously Perisic and Basuma had great performances coming on, and they definitely deserve to have starting spots next week as far as I'm concerned. And the reason being, and now we'll get into the negatives, obviously it was a really, really poor game, a really, really poor performance from us for the majority of the game. So in the first 10 minutes we were going at them, we were giving it loads, we were getting stuck in as much as they were getting stuck in. You could say that for the first 10 minutes we looked the better team, to be honest. You're really good. And then it all started falling apart, and it was woeful from the majority of the players. I'm going to start being fair. I'm going to start with my boy Sonny. I love that guy. He's my favourite player of all time. I just love Heung-min Son, the way he plays, his personality, everything about the guy, the skill. I think that in another team, Sonny would have been the Cristiano Ronaldo of this generation. I really do. But yesterday was so poor. It was so poor from Sonny, losing every ball. He just wasn't able to contend with Reece James, and not Reece James. Who was it? It was Cucurella on that side. No, it was Reece James. I can't remember. Sorry, I'm concentrating on the driving more than I am on talking right now. He couldn't contend with Chelsea, and it was so I don't think he was doing anything right. He did very little right yesterday. He had to have been the worst player on the pitch, being absolutely honest, and that kills me to say. It absolutely kills me to say. But he's Heung-min Son. Of course, we're going to assume that was it's a bad patch, because he didn't play very well in the Southampton game either. But I'm sure anybody who's anybody will believe that Sonny will come good again very, very shortly. But I had to start with him because it's only fair. You can't be slinging mud at the players that normally get the stick and not point out that there were elite players worse than them. That being said, the two really awful things for me from yesterday's game were the evidence that we didn't do enough in the transfer window, or haven't done enough in the transfer window so far, to sort out the wing back positions. Emerson was so-so, but in a team that were dross anyway, I wouldn't really throw him under the bus, but he was so-so. I mean, does anyone believe we couldn't have improved on him in the transfer window? I like Emerson. I don't give him as much stick as a lot of people do. I think he's coming on progressively all the time, but we could have done with someone better out there. Sessegnon, dire performance, absolutely piss poor performance from Sessegnon, and Perisic is going to have to start the next game. He really is. I understand that when you play so well against Southampton, for the most part, you've got to start the same team in the next game, surely, right? If you thrash Southampton 4-1, you've got to start the next game with the same players. Fair enough, okay? But now, after a performance like that, Sessegnon has to try and win his place back in the side again, because Perisic came on and he played a stormer in the very short time that he had. And then the other problem then is the midfield. I said before the match started that Chelsea, in spite of what Google and other sites were saying, that they were going to play a 3-4-3, I knew looking at the lineup that they were going to play a 4-4-2. A 4-3-3, which meant that they had 3 midfielders versus our 2 midfielders. I knew they were going to run the show in the midfield, and that's where every single battle was lost, as far as I'm concerned. It was so poor in the midfield. We couldn't dominate. Look at the possession stats. It was 60-something% to them and 30-something% to us. It was absolutely woeful. how are we like? The good thing towards the end, Conte did change up his strategy and he went to a 4-4-2 for a while, even a 4-2-4 you could consider it when we really started attacking. So at least he showed a willingness to kind of change things up and push more players forward when we really needed to change the game around. That's something. That shows me that potentially that he could be willing to do a switch to a 3-5-2 in the future, which I think would be better. So at least we could dominate the midfield then. But we were overrun in the midfield, and that was shocking. And Basuma came on, and he performed much better than Bentancur and Højbjerg as far as I'm concerned. I know Højbjerg got the goal, and I'm not going to get into him too much because I know people know how I feel about him already, and it's just going to seem biased. So I won't really get into it. Considering he scored the goal, fair play to him. No, I'm going to say it. That was a fluke. He didn't mean to do that, guys. Every single time that guy takes a shot on goal, it's wide or up in the air. That was a fluke. I'm just saying it, okay? I'm going to leave it there, but that was a fluke. But fair play, he got it. He did what he had to do. He struck it. He placed it perfectly, albeit probably not on purpose. But he did a grand job. But it should have been like Basuma absolutely needs to be in that in the centre of the field next week, because we need to be bossing the midfield, and if we're going to maintain a 3-4-3, we absolutely need Basuma in there running the show, because Højbjerg and Bentancur were not able to cope. They really were not able to cope, especially against three midfielders. So hopefully we'll learn lessons from this. There's still enough time in the transfer window to be able to sort out our wing backs. In all seriousness, we really need to sort out the wing backs. For me, why are we loaning Destiny Udogie back to Udinese when we desperately need him right now? We really do. If you look at his highlight reel, and that's all I can really go on, but he looks way more competent, way more confident, way more skillful, everything. He makes Sessegnon look pitiful. Why are we loaning him back to Udinese? Why don't we keep him? Because I think he would come on and be a star. And we need somebody else out on the right as well, unless Doherty's going to come back fully fit and firing. But I still think we need to improve on that side. We still have time to do it, but the wing backs are still the most underwhelming positions on the pitch for me as it stands, and I hope that we can learn from that game that that's a position that still needs filling, seriously, really, really badly. But as I say, look, with those things said, to be able to go to the bridge and even steal a point is an improvement on last season. You cannot say it's not. They are our bogey team. I can't see us going out and giving a performance like that against Wolves on Saturday. I really don't want to see a poor game against Wolves on Saturday, because I'm going to be there. But I really think that we're going to the performance at our own ground against an inferior team to Chelsea. No offense to Wolves. We should be back on super scoring form, please God. Playing against Chelsea, of course you're not going to see you're going to see some ropey stuff, because it's just we're fighting against hoodoo, we're fighting against the team that we're the confidence had to have been a little lackluster, a little under, not what it should be, not what it would be against other teams, because we know what we're like against Chelsea. So to go and to steal a point is, there's no point in being downhearted about it, about the performance when we could go out there and do what we did. If it had not been for Romero, here's the thing, right? This is there's two notes I'm going to leave you on. One, if Romero hadn't done what he did, then we wouldn't have stolen the point. It would have been a legitimate point. It would have been, if Romero hadn't done what he did, and he's a bit of it's a bit of a concern in of itself. Like, that was if he's going to be a liability like that was foolish. There was no need for it. There was absolutely no need for it. if he hadn't have done that, they couldn't. They can argue all they want that we stole it. We wouldn't have. We wouldn't have stolen it if Romero hadn't have done that, because the 2 goals were legit. But we should have been given a red card before the second goal. So it would have been a legitimate smash and grab, and we would be able to hold our heads up high that we can snatch a draw from the jaws of defeat, really. So it's a positive thing. Ben Daniel said on We Are Tottenham TV as well that what was it he said? Oh, my mind, I'm drawing a blank now. He said oh yeah, so I mean, that's 4 points that we got so far that we didn't get in those games last season. So we're already 4 points up on last season when you look at it in that simplistic way. We're 4 points up on last season. You know, that is good. We have to look at that as a positive thing. So don't, like, anyone who's gonna talk crap about, you know, about our performance, you have to remember that we snatched that point away through digging in and doing things that we would never have been able to do before. And the last thing I'll leave you on is the managers arguing at the end of the game. That was ludicrous, and it was all because Tuchel is a giant baby. And I'm not saying that with my Spurs hat on. I'm saying, like, honestly, I'd be saying that regardless, because Tuchel got all pissy in the middle of the game when we scored our first goal, and he saw Conte celebrating, and he wasn't happy that Conte was celebrating. Of course Conte's going to celebrate. His team just scored. Shut your mouth. Do you know what I mean? So he got pissy. That started the rage between the two managers, so that at the end of the game, when Conte and Tuchel were to shake hands like gentlemen, Conte didn't look Tuchel in the eyes, and oh no, time for me to get physical. Like, that's, by today's standards, that is harassment, right? That is abuse, because he wouldn't let go of his hand. You can't do that. You can't hold someone's hand, and because they won't look you in the eye when they're shaking your hand, you hold on to them, don't let them go, and then pull them, yank them towards you and start shouting at you. Like, you can't do that. And so I don't care what anyone says. That was all Tuchel being a baby. And Conte now has a red card. Like, that ref had a howler in a lot of ways. Conte now has a red card. Tuchel deserved the red card. Tuchel deserved 2 yellows before he got the red card. So he got a red card, and Conte now has a red card, and it means that he won't be in the dugout for the Wolves game. That's a disgrace. Honestly, the Premier League need to look at that, because that is an absolute disgrace that Conte now is not going to be on the sidelines, because we know how important he is. He's basically he's the 13th man, you know, after the 11 players on the pitch and then the fans. Conte is basically another player, and he's not going to be there now against Wolves, and that's a disgrace. So that's going to be a problem. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Am I right in my opinions? I'm perfectly okay with you, you know, disagreeing or whatever, but let me know what you think. But especially, let me know what you think about Højbjerg. Did he, like, there's no point in arguing over whether people are overrating him or underrating him. No one's ever going to change their opinion on that. That's not important. I won't change my opinion. I think he's overrated. Other people will say he's underrated. Whatever. The main thing is, do you honestly think that Højbjerg is skilled enough, and based on his previous attempts on goal, was that a fluke or was it not a fluke? That's what I want to know. I'm calling it a fluke. Yes, I am biased to a certain extent, because I don't rate the guy, but I genuinely don't think he's capable of that. But he took a chance. He went for it, and he got it. It was just too perfectly placed for him. But fair play to him. Credit where credit's due. You got to give the devil his due. Well done, Højbjerg, for getting us the point that we needed when we needed it. So, you know, I would absolutely buy that man a drink if he was here right now. But yeah, was it a fluke or wasn't it a fluke? Thank you if you got to the end of this video for listening to the first ever Tottenham Drives with me, Adam William Cahill. Leave your comments, please please subscribe. Sean does an awful lot of work on this channel and deserves your love. I hope to spend a lot more time with you guys on here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, looking forward to Wolves. I will send next week, because I won't be with Sean for the watch along, I will send you I will send him a video that he can upload of live from the stadium. And yeah, I look forward to that game. Look forward to looking at your comments, guys, and God bless. I'll chat to you all soon. Take care.